Hey guys, it's your boy Vox, and welcome back to another Master Duel deck profile, and this time it's going to be for the branded Thunder Dragon. This is going to be another deck profile that's going to be short, just straight to the point, showing you the cards without any replays or combo tutorials, but if you still need them, let me know in the comments down below and I'll see what I can do. But before we go straight into the deck profile, make sure to like and subscribe, and obviously, again, as I've said, let me know in the comments down below about what you think about branded Despia. First, as always, we will start with hand traps, with triple Max C, triple Ash, then the 2 Called by the Grave with the 1 cross out designator. Standard hand trap lineup as in with everything else. Then for the Despia monster lineup, we're playing triple Despia and Tragedy because we play 3 Allure of Darkness. Then we're also playing triple Allure of Justice of Despia. We're also playing the Lost package, which basically means that we play 1 Trapgate Mercurial with the 1 Springer's Kit, the 1 Albion the Shrouded Dragon, and obviously the branded Lost. We did not play Ecclesia in this version of the deck, even though you could, since it's a light target and it's also a potential target for your 1-off Chaos Space. And then obviously for the last Despia monster, we're also obviously playing 1 Ad Libitum of Despia, which is quite incredible. We're also playing obviously the Frightful package with triple copies of Egypt Chain, 2 copies of Polymerization, and the 3 copies of Frightful Patchwork. A tip that I wanted to give you guys with Springer's Kit is some people consider her a worse version of Allure, which obviously she is, but there is actually situations in which you draw 2 Polymerizations in your hand, for example, with 1 Frightful Patchwork and Springer's Kit, and in situations where you have this hand that I just explained with Allure in hand as well, Springer's Kit is actually a better normal summon, because if it resolves, you can basically search your branded fusion, right? And then you would be able to send your Polymerization back into the deck, and by doing that, you will be able to activate your Frightful Patchwork, because obviously, since you had the 2 Polymerizations in hand, Frightful Patchwork wasn't actually eligible to be activated, so by doing that, you're basically allowing yourself to thin your deck a bit, so you reduce the chance of you drawing the bricks, obviously. And then obviously we're playing triple Fallen of Albas. I have considered playing 2 copies of this, but I do not want to risk it. I would rather just have the ability to banish him or discard him with cards like Branded Opening and Allure of Darkness, etc. And I would rather have the option to have the 3rd one in my deck, or the 2nd, or the 1st, instead of just always playing on 2. And I feel like by just playing with 2, you're just risking either getting the one that you have in the graveyard, DD Crowd, Called by the Grave, etc., which can be hard to recur, since obviously you want a Fallen of Albas in the deck if you want to activate your Branded Fusion and obviously get as much value as possible. Obviously we're playing with 1 Fairy Tail Snow, and then for the small Chaos engine that we have into the deck, for the Chaos Space targets to actually search for us, is 1 Chaos Dragon Levianeer with 1 Chaos Emperor, the Dragon of Armageddon. He is incredible since his Pendulum effect is actually that you can basically get him into one of the Pendulum Scales, you pay 1000 life points, and then you can target one of your banished dragon monsters, you destroy Chaos Emperor, and you basically recur that banished dragon that you have in the banished pile back into the deck or extra deck, meaning that you are capable of getting your 2nd Albion that you potentially have banished back into your extra deck, and then you can basically get him back to the graveyard again with effects like Mirror Jade, etc., to get his effect activated once again. He's basically a 3rd Albion or a 3rd any of the dragons that you might need from the extra deck. And then obviously, since it's a branded Thunder Dragon deck, we're also playing the Thunder Dragon package, which is triple Thunder Dragon with triple Thunder Dragon Dark, 1 Thunder Dragon Hawk, one of the best, if not the best Thunder Dragon monster, and then the 2 copies of Thunder Dragon Roar. And we're also, with that engine, we're also playing 1 Thunder Dragon Fusion, since we're also playing obviously the Colossus, but we're also playing obviously the Thunder Dragon Titan. Obviously you can cut Thunder Dragon Titan if you do not like him. For example, you could cut Thunder Dragon Titan with a fusion, replace the Verge as well, and then you can basically add into the deck a Decima Proskenion and a 2nd Masquerade if you choose to do that. But I feel like having the option of having the Thunder Dragon Titan in situations in which you have a lot of Thunder Dragon monsters into your hand, you can actually gain a lot of advantage by having him on the field. Just straight up, he's quite strong. And then now that we are done with the monsters, I don't think that I'm missing one, straight into the spells. 1 Fool's Burial, 1 Colossus, that is basically to increase the consistency of the deck. For example, in case you have a complete dogshit hand and you have Thunder Dragon Hawk into the deck, you can just straight up Gold Sarcophagus it, send it, banish it, and then just send the 4 cards that you had in your hand back into the deck to draw a new 4. Situations like that, or obviously you can do different things with that. I just gave you one example. As I said previously, triple Allure of Darkness. This card is insane with this deck because you have so many good targets to banish to get effects off of that, plus the to draw. The 1 Thunder Dragon Fusion, as I've said, 1 Chaos Space, obviously triple Branded Fusion, the power card of the deck. Also, obviously, we also run 1 Branded Lost. This card is absolutely insane. If you do not run this card in any branded variant deck that you play, in my opinion, I think you're doing a huge mistake. Obviously, you don't have to play the Branded Lost package, which is basically cards like Albion, Springer's Kid, Ecclesia, etc. But the thing is, and you also can obviously search Fallen of Albas as well, but I feel like these cards specifically help and add so much power into the deck, not only increase your grind game with cards like your Albion the Shrouded Dragon, in which you can he's basically an upstart goblin. He will draw you 1, and you will also discard your spell or trap cards into your graveyard. For example, you could dump Branded Opening to draw 1 with Albion the Shrouded, and then you obviously have the protection from the graveyard that Branded Opening offers to you. So that is quite incredible, to be honest. It's a phenomenal card, and I think that people should actually start adding it more into their branded infused decks, in my honest opinion. Obviously, 2 Super Polys. We have 2 Super Polys because we also have obviously the Predaplant Vert Anaconda. This still dodged the ban list, but the fact that Vert Anaconda has 2 effects. The first effect, you can target a monster in the field and you make it dark, and then before you do obviously you do that first if you want to have an extra Super Poly target, or let's say you don't have one, and then you can just dump Super Poly from the deck and then use Vert Anaconda with a monster that you made dark from your opponent, or if your opponent had 1 dark monster, 1 whatever, you swap the second one that was not dark into dark with a Predaplant Vert Anaconda's effect, the first one, and then you Super Poly them away, and then you basically have a free Dragostopelia into the field. Obviously you could have the Savage Venom Fusion Dragon as well, but you have so many targets that you could go off of, which is honestly quite phenomenal. Then obviously triple Branded Opening, one of the best cards into this deck. In any deck that chooses to run the branded engine, triple Branded Opening is basically the emergency teleport of the deck. You just have to discard the card, and usually you have so many effects that you can activate, or cards that you would want to discard to activate effects because they want to go into the graveyard, like Egypt Chain, like Fairy Tale Snow, etc., which is quite phenomenal. And 2 copies of Branded in red. I have actually tried to play with 1 copy, and it can actually work, but I feel like that you actually need to be completely careful with what plays you're going to make with this. You can recur it, but the problem is that if you go with 1 and then the game goes to a grind state, then it can be quite problematic for you because you actually need the second Branded red if you go into the grind games to go into your second Guardian Chimera. So obviously the 2 Branded red is the safest bet. 3 is unnecessary. You could try with 3. You could remove, for example, a Fallen of Albus to go with the 3 Branded red, but I honestly believe, and I choose to play this still, but I still agree with this, that 2 Branded red is the correct play for any branded type deck that you choose to play. Straight to the extra deck now, with 1 Predaplant Dragostopelia, an incredible Super Poly target, the 1 Thunder Dragon Colossus, quite obviously an incredible card, then a Titanic Gladius Dragon for an extra target for your Fallen of Albas, especially against Fluanderies, then obviously the 2 Albion the Branded Dragon with the 1 Despia Coaretis. Despia Coaretis is an MVP. I have seen people that cut him from the decks, and this is a huge mistake because they always forget that if he dies, if he gets destroyed by a card effect, you can basically special summon a Fallen of Albas or a Despia monster into the field, which is quite phenomenal. Not only you can basically special summon an Aluber to search for your follow-up, you can even special summon a Fallen of Albas to use his effect to take a monster of your opponent, which is phenomenal, and most of the people actually forget that this effect actually exists, which is quite incredible. We're playing 1 Masquerade, the Blazing Dragon. You can go with second. You could potentially remove 1 Lobelion to go with the second Masquerade, but I have felt like, since I do not play with a lot of Fluanderies players, the second Masquerade for different kind of decks almost always never comes up. 1 can be fine, but most of the times I would rather go into the Coaretis instead of the Masquerade, if you know what I mean. Like, you would need to go into an extreme grind game in order for Masquerade to actually be good, for the tax to actually be good, for the 600 burn every single time, because you have so many more options to control your opponent better. But obviously, if you like the burn, if you want to actually have the second copy, you could do that by removing either the Guardian Chimera or, as I've said, the Thunder Dragon Titan even. Then obviously the 2 Mirror Jades with the 2 Lubellions, which is the standard, the cookie cutter build, sorry. You could remove the 1 Lubellion, for example, and go with 1 and 2, because as I've said, you have the option with the Chaos Emperor to actually recur the one that if he gets banished, for example, you can recur him, get him back into the extra deck and go again. But it can be problematic sometimes, but not always, obviously. Then with the 2 Guardian Chimera, this card is the MVP of the deck. It is the reason why this deck is so strong and so prevalent into the ladder currently in Master Duel. I have no words to explain how strong this card is. If you use this properly, with also having the Mirror Jade on the field, you have so many interruptions with just one card, which is quite incredible. Or 2 cards, as you have said, rather. Meaning having Bright and Red set and the Ad Libitum on your hand. And then obviously, as I said, 1 Thunder Dragon Titan. And lastly, the 1 Predaplant Verte Anaconda. Which, as I've said, quite good for this deck. The first effect that you can target a monster and make it dark is extremely useful. Do not forget about that. You will want to use this if you have the option, because as I've said, you can also send Super Poly and Super Poly their monsters away. And before I go and end this deck profile, I also wanted to show you guys some extra options that you could potentially add, such as Despia Comedy. If you don't have any cards that I'm showing you the deck profile, you could basically get them in instead until you get the right card that you could potentially need. 1 Despia Comedy could be added because you can dodge targeted negates with your fusion monsters if you have this into your graveyard. The Chaos Creator is also a good, another good Chaos monster that you could add into your lineup. He adds recursion, he's pretty solid, but I chose to cut him because I feel like 2 Chaos monsters are more than enough currently with the deck list and the build that we have that you see in front of you. Also, I decided to cut the 1 Dramaturge of Despia because I have felt that he can be bricky, even though he is extremely powerful. I really like this card. I had to cut 1 card to get the Thunder Dragon Fusion into the deck, and he was basically the card that I had to cut in order to get it in. If I had to cut the Thunder Dragon Fusion and the Thunder Dragon Titan, I would definitely add the Dramaturge back into the deck. Then obviously Despia Proscenion, he is a super poly target. He almost never comes up, but sometimes you wish you had him to the extra deck in situations in which you play against the Mirror deck, against the branded Despia deck. He can be extremely powerful. Obviously, if you have the Super Poly in hand, he's incredibly strong if you get him out, but he is so rare. He almost never comes up, in my experience at least, so that's why I chose to cut him. And obviously, the Despia Theater of the Branded, I also chose to cut this card because I felt it was not as necessary since I'm playing 1 copy of Masquerade instead of 2. If I was playing 2 copies, I would consider adding this back, because with this and Masquerade, you can recur your monsters from the graveyard so many times, which is really powerful, honestly, and sometimes it can win you games, because the monsters that you basically recruit from the graveyard, which is basically your Masquerade and your Alubers as well, that would help you with your super poly plays when your turn comes back into you, or you could have a poly in your hand and then you could use these materials to go more into your plays. But basically that was it for this really quick deck profile, for an update basically for the branded Thunder Dragon for you guys, because I saw some people that requested it and I was like, might as well just give it, because I played with this, I tested it enough, and I feel like it is 95 to 99% almost complete. I don't think that I could change a lot of things currently with the cards that we have in Master Duel, so I feel like this is one of the best iterations for branded Thunder Dragon that you could potentially play for this. But either way, let me know in the comments down below, guys, about what you think about this, and thank you very much for watching once again, and I'll be seeing you to the next one.